what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I am driving this, a 2005 Cadillac DHS. Up front is a 4.6 liter V8 and down below is a 4-speed automatic transmission. Now I am super excited to be driving this DHS for two reasons. First of all, this car is incredibly equipped. Cooled seats, massage seats, digital dash, tri-zone climate, all the bells and whistles, but also this car is kind of written off by a lot of people because they hear North Star V8 and they shudder and they walk away, but today I'm going to tell you why you shouldn't. But if you would like to submit your own vehicle and have it reviewed here on the channel, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out and I come out to you. But let's get back to that North Star V8. Why is it not as terrible here in 2005 as it was maybe in the late 90s? Well, in the late 90s, GM kind of cheaped out on the engine. It's a good designed engine. It's well designed. However, their head studs had an issue with the threads. They weren't long enough, several issues, and so the cars would blow head gaskets and have oil issues out the wazoo. Well, by the early 2000s, they had actually solved most of those issues, and this particular engine has been quote-unquote bulletproofed, meaning it's had modified head studs put in so it doesn't leak oil or burn out the head gasket. Once that's done, and if you get a later model North Star, they actually are really good engines. They're smooth, they can be as reliable as you want, and they make good power. This made upper 200, so I would consider that a pretty big win. All right, North Star, point me in the right direction. It goes! It has some ponies to it. I like that. I like that a lot. Like I said, paired to it is a 4-speed automatic transmission. Nothing really too crazy right now. It's shifting fine. It's quiet. It's good, and I don't have any complaints. Last but not least about the drivetrain, the DHS is front-wheel drive, which I always wish that this car was rear-wheel. It's not the end of the world, but it is front-wheel for those curious. How does it feel to drive the DHS? It's incredibly smooth and quiet, and we'll talk about why it's quiet later on, but it's a really, really nice drive. It has air suspension, so it really does soak up the bumps. It's relaxing, and it feels very refined, which wasn't always a cornerstone of GM in this era. Refinement definitely wasn't in their vocabulary at the time, but it really feels like this car steps outside of that GM bubble and is something different, and that's very noticeable with the ride quality. Visibility is also good, and road noise is low because the windows are actually double paned for extra sound deadening. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have digital gauges. I really truly love these gauges. I think they look fantastic, they operate well, and you get a digital tachometer down at the bottom, so it's a really fun experience. On the steering wheel, on the left, we have our temperature control, as well as voice commands and heated steering wheel, and off to the right, we have our volume and select. Off to the left, we have some buttons for our digital gauges, as well as a climate vent, headlight switches, our Twilight Sentinel, trunk release, gas cap release, and gauge dimmer switch. And moving on to the door, we have 2 levels of memory seats, lock and unlock, power mirrors, power windows, heated seats, and cooled seats here in the Cadillac DHS. Beautiful features to have. Moving into the center, we get more info and reset buttons, as well as 2 climate control vents with the hazard switch, and the climate controls themselves. They also get a digital readout that they are dual zone as well. Easy to use, easy to operate, and you get the steering wheel controls, which I adore. Down below, we do have an aftermarket radio because any radio from this era isn't going to keep up with modern tech, so the owner has swapped it out. Ashtray and cigarette lighter, and then we do have openable cup holders down below. So we will do a big friggin' bottle test, and the bottle doesn't sit all the way down. It takes up the bigger size. However, it does fit in the bigger size, and I've been driving around this whole review with the big friggin' bottle in the cup holder, and it hasn't fallen over, moved, or even made a sound. So the DHS from 2005 passes the big friggin' bottle test. We also also get two center consoles, so there's a lower one and an upper one, which I found to be quite interesting. The seats are, of course, incredibly comfortable. They are heated, ventilated power, and massaging, kind of. Basically, it just kind of messes with the lumbar support on and off, but if you hold the button on the side, it will actually do that, which I find to be a nice feature, especially for a 2005 vehicle. However, speaking of seats, where you really want to be in the DHS is the back seats, so let's go do a back seat review. All right, so we're on the back of the 2005 Cadillac DHS, and something to note is that it's wonderful. It is absolutely wonderful. I do have two versions of heated seats. I could do just the back or the back and my butt, and I could do 3 levels of each of that. I have this rear window shade, which is really, really nice. I have my own climate controls back here, and if you notice this little thing up here, this is actually the backup sensor. So as you get closer to things, there's 3 dots that'll appear, 2 yellow and then 1 red. When 1 red, you're like really close to something. That's actually able to be seen through the rear view mirror. Kind of an ingenious idea. But we do also have a center console that has pop-out cup holders. Really nice to see that. But overall, it's a very, very comfortable space to be in. I'm 5'11", not a small guy. My knees are not hitting the seat in front of me. My head's not hitting the ceiling. And that's a big win for any car. But in a luxury car, it just pushes it that little extra mile. Really cool to see that. Speaking of space, however, we do have a big trunk, so let's go talk about that. So we do have a trunk popper on the key fob, and it'll pop it all the way up as you saw. And what I have to say is another really nice part about the DHS is how low and wide the mouth is to get stuff in. So you don't have to lift stuff all the way up and over any type of lid, you just put it right in, which is really, really nice to see. So tons and tons of space around the back of the DHS. Now we got to talk about the looks, and I really like the look of the DHS. I think it's very pretty, and this is towards the end of the DHS's sort of lifespan, and I think it looks really good. This is also white lightning iridescent paint that is shocking in the sun. Absolutely gorgeous in the sun, and it's good looking in the not sun too, but it is a really pretty color. If I know anything about GM, they have been very, very good with their color palettes, and that was no different here in 2005. However, with all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving a DHS Cadillac? Well, this car is what the kids call slept on. What that means is that a lot of people overlook this vehicle or don't really give this vehicle a second thought because they see that it has the North Star V8, because they see that it's an older Cadillac, they might just write it off and say, oh, that's a crappy car, XYZ, bada bing, bada boom, adios. And I think when you do that, you're severely missing a very, very good car. Let's run through the features one more time. Digital dash, heated steering wheel, temperature on the steering wheel, heated, cooled, and massaging front seats, tri-zone climate, extra thick windows for sound deadening, rear sunshade, sunroof, air suspension. The list goes on. And so while yes, at its conception, the North Star was problematic, it grew up, it matured, it went to college and learned something about itself. And it got better, and now it's good. It actually is pretty good. But not a lot of people are willing to take that step, or too many people were burnt so bad by the North Star of the old days that, well, why risk it again? But I'm here to say it's well worth the risk, because there's not a whole lot of risk, especially because these cars can be purchased for very, very little here in 2024. The owner picked this one up for around $5,000 in its current condition. It starts to make quite a bit of sense. Huge thank you to Cy for letting me borrow his DHS for this video. Cy's been absolutely wonderful. We also filmed his Mercury Grand Marquis a few years ago here on Long Island, New York, so I appreciate him for helping out the channel over multiple years. But I appreciate you guys watching the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.